And as Julie mentioned, I'm the chair this year, and will be transitioning that piece over to Matt for next year. But it has been such an honor to serve you guys. You are all doing such amazing things in the community and in your respective stations. So thank you for all you do, and I can't wait to hear the culmination of your year. So that being said, I'm going to pass it on over to Yellow. Yellow Light Green is the Maine Development Foundation President and CEO. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Who's burnt out? Raise your hand if you're burnt out. Yeah, Friday afternoon, of course, but it's been a long year. Julie said I had to be inspirational, so the audience is always the judge of that. But it's been, as many of you know, my great privilege to be involved in Realize Maine almost from the beginning. I think I missed the first meeting back in 2004, and I left the second meeting early and got elected the first chair. So there you go. Never leave a meeting early. And you know, back then we said, well, the age group will be up to age 35. So I thought, all right, I only got three or four more years to really lean into this, and then I'm done. And here we are 17 years later, and in a very different role, I still get to be involved with some of your efforts, at least peripherally, and that's just awesome for me. I think as hard as the year has been, and as difficult as it is to figure out how to make a difference in our communities in terms of truly engaging people, folks who have been involved with your groups all along, any new people, I guess my message would be now more than ever. I think your communities and your peers and Maine need you now more than ever, for a bunch of different reasons. One of those is demographics. You know, we knew 2 years ago that we had this tidal wave of baby boomer retirements coming. Some of them retired early because of health and safety concerns. Some of them stuck it out all this past year and a half because they didn't want to leave their organization in the lurch in the middle of a crisis, and they're starting to retire now. So, you know, that trend that we knew was there 2 years ago is returning with a vengeance. Demographics more than ever because the face of Maine is changing. I had read and been using an estimate from some of the census surveys last year that said that almost 100% of the population growth in Maine came from Mainers of color and Latino and Hispanic Mainers over the past decade. When the real census numbers came out this year, it turned out that 177% of Maine's population growth came from Mainers of color and Latin and Hispanic Mainers. And so the face of Maine is changing slowly compared to some other states, but dramatically compared to our own recent past. And so the challenge of building communities that are more inclusive, more diverse, more welcoming than ever before has only increased. And the efforts that you all are up to across each of your regions is needed now more than ever. And the flight to safety, of course, and the burgeoning of people coming here who are doing remote work or who are here who are transitioning to remote work. It's kind of funny because in 2002, when I was working for then Governor King, and I was getting ready to look for my next gig after he left office, I remember talking to one of the partners at a Portland law firm who said to me, never confuse practicing law from Maine with practicing law in Maine. In other words, even then in 2002, many of their partners were doing work all over the world and just happened to sleep at night somewhere here in Maine. And of course, that trend's only increased. The ability to do it has only increased. You know, I remember when we started Realize Maine, there were a certain number of people on the statewide steering committee who had their 415 and their 215 and their 202 and their 212 area codes on their mobile phones. So they made it look like they were still in Hollywood and New York, but of course they weren't. And so all that is accelerated. And this influx of people over the past year and a half who, for flight to safety and in order to take advantage of that ability to be remote, and still be part of things have come to Maine. How do we engage them? The opportunity is great, but the barrier to engagement even greater in terms of how to get to know them, how to help them get to know us. But again, I would say, sometimes when we've been doing this work in Realize Maine over the years locally, sometimes we'll ask ourselves or ask someone else, well, wait a minute, are we doing something that should just occur organically? Are we trying to build an artificial network that really should just bubble up from who we work with and who we hang with and who we know? And part of it, of course, is to get us out of our own networks and have an even wider and more diverse and more stimulating ability to make a difference. But I would say now more than ever, because of the separation of remote work and the pandemic, we need these intentional, deliberate buildings of connection more than we ever did. So now more than ever, because of the changing face of our communities, the changing face of Maine, the changing nature of the economy, and the changing ability to truly get to know each other. So I would say, a lot of you have struggled, I know, to figure out how to do the work freshly, how to keep people engaged. But kudos for what you're doing. And I think it's important to remind ourselves every day that oftentimes other organizations are even less fortunate than us. I feel that way about MDF, and I hope you feel that way about the impact you have been able to have over the past couple of years. One of the things I was reflecting on just over the past few days as a leader is that a lot of times there is so much work to be done and so many challenges to be met. You're always asking yourself, what more can we do? You're asking teammates and colleagues, what more can you do, at least implicitly? But in times like the pressure cooker we've been under, occasionally it just hits me in the face as a leader. If I was a better leader, I would realize it sooner and it wouldn't have to hit me in the face, right? But it hits me in the face every so often with my own teammates and even with myself, that the question isn't what more can I do, what more can they do, but what do we need? What do they need? What do I need to sustain myself, to sustain ourselves? And backing off, like, how are we going to get next week's task done, to, are you okay? What do you need? How you doing? And maybe creating, I was thinking about, I'm sure some of you have tried this, maybe in our programming, just making sure that we are recognized as a place where people can do that. maybe instead of another networking event, we just need a bit session every once in a while to say, how do we deal? Help each other deal. So, that pressure cooker, I think, can shape our work, and we can be there for our past members, let alone our future members. So, there's a lot going on. There's tremendous opportunity. Over the last year at MDF, despite all the challenges, we've been asked to work on things from putting together a moonshot proposal for the future of the forest economy, taking on a project about the growth future for the seafood industry in Maine. We've been able to bring back our 2 flagship leadership programs, which I hope you all have a chance to participate in someday. I was with the BRLI group the other day, and a lot of you have had a chance, hopefully, to do one of the regional groups in Maine. Leadership Maine and ICL are like that, but just even bigger and even wider in terms of what you get exposed to across the state, and a different kind of sharing of perspective. So there's tremendous opportunity out there, even in these times. The final thing I'll close with, is as I closed with the BRLI group the other day, is, I think sometimes we're all faced with the question of, can our society work? Can our politics work right now to move forward for the betterment of all? We are so divided at times and polarized at times, both in the pure political sphere and in terms of grappling with the continuing legacy of racism and prejudice and division. Can we do this? It's scary to even sometimes admit that you have to ask yourself that question. I'm an optimist by nature, but the data says that it's not the optimists or the pessimists that survive stress and crisis, it's the realists. So, always struggling to be an optimistic realist about these things. One of the things that keeps me going is that I'm a lover and a student of history. And I know that our country has been through a lot. If you feel badly about today, read up on the election of 1860. Read up on the confrontation of the armed gangs in the Maine State House around the 1870s that our hero of Little Round Top, Joshua Chamberlain, had to physically interpose himself between, armed gangs dueling for control of our own state. Read about, what was going on under Jim Crow. There's a little memoir by Jimmy Carter called Turning Point about his first run for local state representative in 1962. Just after one person, one vote became the law of the land in reality and not just in name. So we've been through a lot as a country. It doesn't excuse how far we have yet to go. But I think, seizing that vision of what we can all be as a society and in our polity. We have faced huge challenges before. We have been darker and worse to each other before in our history, unfortunately. And, we continue to lean into trying to make progress and assume good intent and move forward. So I think it can be done. It's incumbent on all of us. As odd as it is, given how extreme things and sometimes seem, I feel like we get the government that we deserve. And if we want one that's better, it's up to us to create it and to pull along others who share that passion and vision in small ways. I don't mean necessarily running for office or being a political activist, although you can be, but just in those small ways of expecting us to listen to one another, expecting us to use good data to make decisions, expecting us to be accountable for the decisions that we did make, agree or disagree, and assuming good intent, that everyone is fighting for their vision of what would be a good community and good society, even though we may dramatically, viscerally disagree, and trying to figure out why they think that way, how they think that way, and see what we may agree about the vision, but differ on practice, or actually agree on some solutions, even though we got there from a completely different direction. So I think, building those muscles of trying to make our community better has big ripple effects. It has long-term ripple effects. I just applaud all of you for continuing to try to make a difference and just to continue to try to be there for each other and for your communities over the past 20 months. Here's to the next 20. And I look forward to hearing about what you've all been up to.
Thank you so much, Yellow. That was very inspiring. And it does remind us why we do this work month in, month out, every day, every week, working together. So now I have the pleasure of introducing Mary Haley, who is our marketing liaison for Realize Maine Network. And Mary Haley is the owner of MXH Marketing, a small Maine-based marketing and content creation company specializing in Maine outdoor recreation, tourism, and economic development. Mary began her foray into marketing after a long career in seasonal tourism work by combining her love for the outdoor tourism industry and her love for writing, messaging, and design. As an event coordinator for Main Street Skowhegan, before starting MXH Marketing, Mary facilitated in Guinness World Record and establishing Skijoring Skowhegan, Maine's first and New England's only equestrian skijoring race that attracts visitors from all over New England currently, and her amazing clients. Oh, I skipped a line. That's a period. Currently, with her amazing clients, Mary creates and produces marketing assets to reflect their goals with her own creativity and nature-inspired twist. She's here with us today to talk about how organizations and businesses can maximize sponsorships, marketing with, and how to leverage those opportunities to engage current customers, attract new ones, and to get the best return on investment. Thanks for joining us, Mary.
Thanks for having me. I mean, I guess I was going to be here anyways, but so yeah, so we're going to talk about community marketing opportunities and how to leverage them. So I'm going to screen share because I have some visuals for us. Just give me a second. And hopefully, well, and now I got to organize which monitor I'm looking on. Just a second. Okay. So does everyone see the title page? I guess I'm going to go with yes. Yes. Julie, you're the only one I can see now in this display mode. Yeah, so thanks for introducing me, Molly. As Molly kind of touched upon, I've done a lot of event planning in my previous careers. Now with my own company, I do a lot more creative-based projects, all pretty much within the tourism hospitality-based industry. Before that, I was a raft guide, waitress, guest service rep, a seasonal employee. And those were all careers that I think really finely tuned me to recognize needs and goals of brands and consumers. And I like to think that my first years as a raft in those jobs make me into the marketer I am today. At the end of this, I'm hoping you'll all walk away with a little renewed sense of how to get the most out of your sponsorships, how to use them to meet your marketing goals, and how to have fun with them. I'm going to talk this is geared mostly towards business owners, but if you are someone who does sponsor solicitation, you can really use this information to sort of reverse engineer it to create better and more mutually beneficial partnerships. So starting right off with a little basics. Community market, what is community marketing? Community marketing opportunities are typically socially responsible investments made in return for marketing assets during event promotions or for a project. We more commonly know them and call them sponsorships. This includes everything from small to large events, conferences, buildings or program projects, and even people. And the big thing to remember is sponsorships are not donations. And many times companies and brands tend to blur the line between the two. And when you recognize your sponsorship as an investment and not a donation, recognizing that is important to understand how to really leverage the assets you're receiving in return for your investment. Donations are made out of the kindness of your heart and your values. While brands do leverage donations, they do them, like I said, out of their values. And maybe they'll get listed on a website, but they don't do it in return for marketing assets. 1% for the Planet is kind of a good example of that, and how brands do leverage donations, but it's not the same as a sponsorship. Like I said, donations come from your heart and your values, while sponsorships should really come from your marketing plan and your strategy. Unfortunately, smaller sponsorships, especially for local and smaller events, have often become synonymous with donation. And it's a lot of times perceived that the only value of a sponsorship is in the do-good feeling, and that's not really the case. So this is why I like to call them community marketing opportunities. The do-good feelings are just the added benefit, but they're not the reason you sponsor, or the sole reason you sponsor. So a lot of times when I manage sponsorships, which I still do occasionally, I usually refer to people who are investing as my partners, contributors, supporters. And I do this to make them feel part of the team, not just my piggy bank. So some of my top 3 reasons, in no particular order, of why investing in community marketing is good business. So we starting off corporate responsibility, association with other brands, and the marketing assets themselves. So corporate responsibility is usually, social responsibility is usually a term thrown around more when you're talking about large corporations that need to make sure that they give back to society while profiting. But it's not just up to the big corporations to make that positive impact. Small businesses also have that responsibility. And on the micro levels that we're familiar with in small town Maine, investing in societal good can go a really long way to increasing your brand awareness, creating customer loyalty, and generating leads. When your constituents know that you care about them, they're going to want to care about you. And a recent survey by Integer actually found that sponsorships influence over purchase decisions is actually growing. 26% of their respondents this year said they're highly influenced by sponsorships, compared to just 9% when they did a survey in 2011. So it's a growing importance to consumers. Sponsorships are. Second, the opportunities to associate with other brands. Signing on to an event with other brands can really expand your audience, your credibility. It increases your credibility and can disperse your message really well. We've kind of all heard the phrase, "You're the company you keep." Well, this works even better when you're an active sponsor in your partnership and can leverage that affiliation. I've had local diners on the same sponsor deck as national retail companies. And then lastly, the marketing assets themselves, which is my favorite to talk about. So as I said, in return for your sponsorship, you're given a plethora of marketing assets indicative of your level of commitment. And this is what I'm mostly going to focus on when we start talking about how to leverage those assets to their fullest extent, and what they should look like and how they can help you. A lot of times these assets, for a lot of businesses, you might get access to a marketing opportunity that would be too expensive or out of your reach on your own, such as a TV spot or a radio ad, display ads, earned media, influencer exposure, that kind of stuff. For other businesses, it might just be gaining access to a new audience or expanding your market share. So, how to pick the right opportunity for you. As you can see, all my photos in this presentation are Skidjoring related because I've been working on it, so it's on the front of my mind lately. But sometimes, so how to pick the right opportunity and make sure it fits you. Sometimes it's not super obvious, and these are kind of two photos that kind of show that. On the left, we have Pittston Bully, which is a groomer. They sell grooming to ski mountains and build tracks and stuff like that. So it's an obvious fit. It's a skiing event. So they provided a groomer to make the track, and we set it up for display. On the right, you kind of see these beautiful Broncos behind a focal point on our track that was placed there by Height Dealerships as part of their sponsorships. Now, dealership isn't necessarily an obvious fit for a ski race, but the dealerships know that skiers and horse people place high value on their vehicles, and so that's the audience they want to reach as well. So the first place to start when evaluating a good sponsorship is to look at your marketing goals and determine if that event or whatever you're sponsoring can fit at least one of them or promote at least one of them. Let's say you want to increase your market share in Waterville, but the event's in Portland. You need to ask, can they reach my audience? Is their marketing going to target the regions that I want to reach? And if it's not, maybe you want to grow your audience in Portland, and that's why it's beneficial. Once you've determined if it will fit your goals, you want to look at the actual marketing assets that come with the sponsorship. And so typically these packages are people selling sponsorships are pretty flexible. So just a little insider tip, you can always ask for a little customization, and it's likely that whoever's selling the sponsorship will be really amenable to that. But when you're pitched your sponsorship, you're given the sponsor deck, like I said, with your list of benefits. Whatever package, whatever sponsorship that you are committing to, you are paying for all those assets, so they need to be useful. You wouldn't pay for an ad space in Field and Stream if your audience reads Good Housekeeping, something like that, you know? So for example, are you on all the social media channels that they say that they'll tag you in? And if not, can you double up on, can you get rid of, let's say, Instagram and double up on a Facebook post? Those are the kinds of things you want to be thinking about when evaluating if the marketing assets are going to be useful and such. So they need to be worth your money. So now getting into once you've picked your package, how do you leverage those assets to their greatest benefit? It basically comes down to being either a passive sponsor or an engaged sponsor. A passive sponsor typically just cuts the check. They get their mentions, their tags, their logo placement. And that's the majority of sponsors that I work with. It's not a bad thing, but they're also not really maximizing. An engaged sponsor promotes their own sponsorship. They do things that say, hey, look at us, look at what we're supporting, look at what we're promoting, that kind of stuff. So how do you become an engaged sponsor? Don't be afraid to ask questions and ask whoever you're investing with how you can help, what you can do. They will not put you, hopefully they won't put you on like the planning committee, but by asking questions, you can get a feel for how you can be a better engaged sponsor. And sometimes you can, suss out an added bonus, an added asset that you don't even have to pay extra for. Like, for example, if they need swag bags and you happen to say, oh, I've got 200 bags in our storage room with our logo on them, you can use them. And there you go, you've got an extra logo placement. Secondly, you want to provide your marketing materials early and often to whoever you're supporting. The sooner the event organizer or whoever it is has your graphics, logos, photos, social handles, URLs, that kind of stuff, the sooner they can start promoting. For example, let's say one of your assets is logo placement on a website, and you don't send them your logo until 2 weeks before the event. You've missed out on 10 weeks of logo placement, and that you paid for. And so, kind of keeping on this train of thought, this screenshot that I have on the right here, this is from an Instagram post that I made for a client's event. And it was a video clip that created these metrics, which for the size of the account, they're pretty beefy metrics for how many followers this account had. But I also sent this video to our sponsors with info and sample copy, which was obviously a little self-serving. I wanted them to use it on their channels to promote us, but I also wanted them to have cool material to promote themselves and their sponsorship. And so, to my knowledge, I don't believe any of my sponsors took me up on this and used the video, which means they missed out on their own metrics that could easily be just like this, and the opportunity to meet some of their marketing goals that the sponsorship is supposed to serve. And so I'm a big example person. Obviously, I've littered them throughout this presentation so far. So I like to end this usually with like some fun ideas for engaged sponsorship, because I work better with examples myself. So just kind of going through this list, resharing and engaging on posts made by the event or the organization or whoever you've invested with, resharing and engaging on their posts as the business to create that touch point with their audience. Provide your own photos and video and that kind of stuff. If you don't provide that, the event organizer or who else might go digging through your social media to find something to use. And maybe it's an outdated photo, or maybe it's a video that you don't want people to see any longer, but you've forgotten it to take it off your Facebook page. So by providing your own stuff, you're putting your message out there more effectively. Offer promos or deals for ticket holders, or you can even do that kind of promotion at the event. Do you get booth space? Do you want booth space? You can probably ask. And that kind of ties in with on-site activation. What can you do to create a direct touch point with their audience? When using social media and stuff, you could tag co-sponsors in other organizations to increase that brand affiliation. Do you have employees, a volunteer program for employees? And can you send them to help out for, let's say it's an event, can you send them to help out dressed in your company merch? Provide your own banners. Lots of events will create a banner for you, but providing your own, you're controlling the message that you're putting out about your company. And trust me, probably event organizers will appreciate saving on the banner. Include your sponsorship on your own website, and you can backlink to the event page, creating some better SEO. And then think about how you can engage with the audience post-event, or connect with them after, if it's a project or event, how you can connect with them afterwards and kind of keep grabbing that audience. And so those are just some ideas. They can, when you have ideas, more come. So, so to wrap this up, the best sponsorships and the most successful ones I've seen are ones that really keep this engaged and partner mindset with their sponsorships. And when you kind of sit down and be more, what's the word I'm looking for? When you be more intentional about what you're sponsoring and what you want out of your sponsorships, it really creates a good fit. And when you get excited about that good fit, a lot of this just comes naturally. So yes, that's all I have.
Shall we take a few questions if anybody has some?
Yeah.
Right. So folks can feel free. There aren't so many of us that we have to manage chaos. So if you do have a question, just take yourself off mute and fire away.
Or not.
All right. Well, if we don't have any questions, I just say thank you so much, Mary, for that presentation. That was great. Lots of good content packed into a tight presentation.
Yeah, that was originally a half-hour presentation that got compacted.
It was great. It was wonderful. I learned some stuff. Hope everybody else did too. And yeah, I think we'll switch over to group presentations now. We had decided that Synergy would go first, but I'm not seeing the representative here yet. I know she had some conflicting commitments. So Sam, if you're ready to launch into KV Connect, I will kick it over to you.
Sure. So let me just pull up my thing. Okay. All right. Okay, so I am Samantha Burdick. I am the past president, technically, of KV Connect. So these are actually all of our KV Connect members or steering committee members on this first slide. So we have a pretty great, fun group, and I wanted to make sure that I showcased all of them. Whoops. Oh. Okay. So here's our steering committee. This other picture next to me, that's Katie Brand, and she's on here as well. She is the current president, the incoming president of KV Connect. This is some of our group at a Bigelow trivia event that we hosted this summer. And I just wanted to kind of spotlight all of my steering committee members, a lot of whom are actually on this call. So thank you for taking the time to schedule this into your busy schedules and make sure that you are here. But I also just wanted to point out, while we're mostly women with the exception of Patrick, we do have a great diversity in the amount of different industries. And, you know, we have some nonprofits with Nikki. We have banking. I work for Height Family of Dealerships, which is an auto dealer. Main Street Skowhegan, so we have people from Skowhegan, insurance, investing with Katie. So I just think it's really great. This is probably the most diverse as far as industries have gone that our steering committee has been. And I think that that's like very valuable and it's really exciting for us. So if we can now diversify, get some more guys so Patrick isn't by himself, it would be even better. So this year we had 4 major goals from KV Connect. So our first goal is to host quarterly networking events such as happy hours at local businesses or recreation spots. We also really had hoped to be able to get into colleges or universities. So we have Thomas and Colby in Waterville. We also have KVCC right in Fairfield. We really want to be able to leverage that and have some events at those locations as well. But it just, with the pandemic, it's made it very difficult. Host community-wide events that focus on promoting outdoor recreation in our region. Provide professional development opportunities for young professionals in our region. And collaborate with Main Street Skowhegan to expand our reach into the Skowhegan community as well as Waterville. So those were our 4 major goals this year. Some examples of professional development opportunities that we've been able to provide. We co-host leadership luncheons with the Mid-Maine Chamber. I believe we had 4 of those this year. So that's been really great. We also provide scholarships to anyone on our steering committee that wants to go to a leadership luncheon or a business breakfast series that the chamber does, or another outside, like say an MDF seminar that their company can't cover. So we try to make sure that we take that barrier of providing the registration fee down. So some highlights. So I used to teach and I would start my day with my students talking about roses and thorns. So roses are the good things and thorns are the challenges. So I'll start with the roses and then also talk about a couple challenges that we had. So we did quite a few networking events, and it seemed when we were talking about it at the steering committee, it's like we felt like we didn't do a lot this year. And then as we were going through everything we had accomplished, it was like, wow, we did so much considering we're still in a pandemic. So we did quite a bit and it was really great. This year we decided to rebrand our green drinks. We used to do a monthly green drinks networking event, but we felt like it was just very, we weren't getting the attendance that we used to. It seemed like people were just going to the business after hours events, which usually fell on the next day. So we decided to rebrand them. People also got really confused. They were like, are we drinking green drinks? It just really wasn't working for KV Connect anymore. So we now do something called Pints of the Purpose. We held 2 of them this year. Our goal is to have a quarterly one. And they help to showcase a nonprofit, specifically our Pints for a Purpose this time. So showcased Main Street Skowhegan's Run of River initiative. So we partnered with them for that. We had one at Bigelow Brewing in Skowhegan, and then we had another one at a new business in Waterville called Drip City Arcade Bar. So we tried to do some new unique businesses and things that we hadn't done before. this picture at the top with all of these younger kids was actually a really neat opportunity. Colby College this summer hosted an Explo networking summer camp. So these kids sort of went to almost like a business camp for the summer. And part of what they needed to do was learn about networking and learn how to network. So they reached out to us and asked us if we would do that. And we were able to put on this networking event for these students. They're all in high school, and they're in high schools across the country, some in the Puerto Rico. So they came from all over, and we had the opportunity to network with each of them and give them some networking tips. So that was a really fun, successful event this summer that we did. We did our 9 in Wine event again this year. So typically we've done an annual event at the Waterville Country Club to showcase golfing and how that can be helpful for your networking opportunities. This year, HB Insurance was gracious enough to sponsor the event again. They've sponsored it in the past, but they came to us and asked if we would be willing to actually go golfing. So they covered tee times for anybody that wanted to go golfing, and we went out one afternoon this fall, and the weather was beautiful and the foliage was gorgeous, and golfed, and then had dinner and networked together after. So that was a really fun event, and we're hoping to expand on that again next year. Last year we started our Yoga in the Park series, which was very successful. And we did that again this year. We had 3 this summer and fall, and we partnered with the Alphon Youth and Community Center for that. They provided the yoga instructor, which was a great way to also showcase their brand new wellness center that they have available. And this winter, we did a virtual walkathon called Miles Across Maine, and it benefited the Kennebec-Messalonskee Trail System. One of our focuses as KV Connect is to showcase some of the great outdoor recreation opportunities that we have in our region. And so this was a virtual event. We had an online app platform where people could track how many steps they got or miles they walked each day. And we had a little competition, 3 teams. So 2 teams of young professionals, and then we had 1 team of middle schoolers. Their teacher reached out and asked if they could participate as well, and they beat us all, so that was good. And I actually made a map, and you started in Kennebunk, Kittery actually, and walked all the way to Fort Kent. So and it would show you along the map how far you had made it in Maine, your team had made it in Maine. So that was a really fun month-long event that we did, and I think we'll probably continue something like that in the winter as well, when we can't host like an outdoor yoga type event. So and then some of the challenges that we've had, the thorns, so to speak. I think we sort of hoped that the pandemic would be completely over and we could go back to life as normal last year, and that just didn't work out. So for half of the year, we still didn't have in-person events like we had hoped, which is why we did some of the virtual events, including virtual trivia and some virtual networking events as well. We also just had a lot of turnover recently in our steering committee. So we've gotten some really great new steering committee members, but we also lost some people that had been on the board for a little while. So as expected, but that, and then a lot of our steering committee members have just voiced a lot of burnout lately. So trying not to overwhelm and have the doers do even more. So trying to be mindful of that as a committee as well. So another thing that we've been trying to focus on is community engagement, and just making sure that the business community, the Central Maine community is aware of KV Connect and what we do and the value that it can offer their employees. So a couple things, and we also have a very active community service committee in the past, they've done a great job with this food gleaning project in partnership with Colby. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to continue that, but they've been trying to find other opportunities and share those with members and make sure that we're still really active doing community service as well. So we did do the business to business showcase again this year. It was postponed, but we were able to get it in. So that was a great opportunity for us. And in partnership with that, we did a dough drive, a Play-Doh drive for the Maine home, for the Maine Children's Home and for their Christmas program, Christmas boxes. So one of the items that they had told us they needed were Play-Doh kits and Play-Doh. So we did a Play-Doh drive and collected Play-Doh at our table, which was really fun as well. We have done two different blood drives, which they've been very successful. We've had a couple road bumps with each blood drive and out of our control with the Red Cross, but we got through it. We did this winter a couple virtual trivia events, which was really fun. I think one of the best parts about that is being virtual. A lot of our members invited their friends or family that don't even live in our area to join us on that. So it was really neat. We have one member whose brother lives like outside of the Bangor area or something. And so they had like a sibling competition during the trivia game, and he wouldn't have been able to come down for a trivia event midweek if it weren't virtual. So that was really fun. And then every year we do an annual Giving Tuesday fundraiser. Last year we raised money for Educare Central Maine, and this year we're partnering with Waterville Creates to raise money for kids art kits, and then of course our Miles Across Maine. So I wanted to showcase some of our awards. I think it's really important to show KV connectors that are being recognized for their hard work. So Garvin Donegan, who is the works for Central Maine Growth Council, he's been on our committee for years. He actually just termed off, but he was recognized by Maine Biz on the next list, which is pretty great. I was recognized by the Mid-Maine Chamber as the Rising Star Award winner. And and I didn't put Christina up here, but she was also recognized, Christina Cannon, by the Mid-Maine Chamber as the Business Professional of the Year Award. And Katie Brand was recognized, our incoming president, by the Central Maine Growth Council as the Emerging Leader. So a lot of our steering committee members recognized in the community for their hard work. And I think it says a lot about KV Connect and how engaged we are. So just thinking of 2022 and beyond, we are in a really interesting place right now in Central Maine, specifically Waterville. There's a lot of growth, a lot of new buildings. So we are the four of us here. This is Patrick, Katie, myself, and Heather Thorne, and we are at the topping off ceremony of our brand new art center that's going to be downtown in downtown Waterville. So there's just a lot of like renaissance happening right now in Waterville, which is really exciting to be part of. And it's just great to have so much new energy. So we really want to build off of that. We also have decided as a steering committee that this year we really want to focus on collaboration, which is a way for us to expand our reach. So collaborating specifically with Main Street Skowhegan and their Skowhegan Outdoors program and some of the wonderful programming that they're already doing, as well as the Mid-Maine Chamber. We recognized that we were kind of duplicating some things that the chamber was already doing, like business after hours, and our members were going to you know, a networking event with KV Connect and then one with the chamber the next day. And there was like this disjointing thing, and it was a missed opportunity. So we're going to, we can connect with some of the business leaders and encourage them to encourage their employees to come talk to us or get involved or come to our next meeting. We also are going to be doing a rebranding in 2022 of our KV Connect logo. We want to make sure that we're incorporating the whole idea that we are serving two communities, Skowhegan and Waterville. So we'll be doing that. We want to expand our professional development scholarships and opportunities. So this year we did a series called Coffee Chats, where in the morning we did 3, I think. We had a topic, so maybe it was an example would have been organization. Another example was social media, and I can't remember what the third one was. But we got together and just shared ideas and helped problem solve. It was very like informal, but a way to just have coffee and say, hey, does anybody have any great social media tricks for your business, or any great organization tricks? Like, I'm feeling so burnt out and scattered. What are you using? So that was a really fun way to do that as well. So we're trying to find a way to bring that maybe into a in-person event and have it a little more structured, maybe having specific speakers so that we can add some value to that. And then, of course, we want to continue to build on our community impact events and nonprofit support. That's been something that we've always been really great at in the past. And we have a lot of really wonderful nonprofits in our community. So we want to showcase the great work that they're doing. And then I don't know if anybody QR code here, it'll bring you to all of our social media pages. It would be really awesome if you followed us. We've been working really hard when we talk about like community impact, also showcasing some of the nonprofits or businesses in our community and what the hard work that they're doing, and making sure that we're sharing what they're doing so that it helps leverage our social media pages as well. And that's been really successful. We're constantly sharing stuff from like the CEI Women's Business Center and any opportunities that they might have for people looking for their workshops, and with the Growth Council and their tech day, tech talks, and any other opportunities that Colby might have for professional development, and anything that different businesses are doing. We try to make sure that someone from KV Connect is at all of the different ribbon cuttings for the chamber, that we have a representative at all of those things, and that we're showcasing those things on social media as well, and sharing some of our favorite businesses. And one way that we're doing that currently is we put in a tree at the Festival of Trees and picked out our favorite Skowhegan and Waterville businesses and did a night out in Central Maine. Really would equal multiple nights out in Central Maine, but picked, I think we have maybe 10 gift certificates on there to Waterville Opera House and Railroad Square Cinema, and Main Grains here in Skowhegan and Bigelow, and a couple other downtown Waterville restaurants, like our brand new restaurant Front and Main. And so that's been a really great way to showcase some of the great businesses in our community and places that we like to go. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. And again, if anybody does have a question, just jump right in.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. This is why you have the director of marketing for a company do your presentations for you. This is really great, Sam. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Molly.
Lots of good work going on in your area. All right, well, thank you again. And next we are going to go to Fusion Bangor. So Matt, I think you're doing the presentation.
I sure am, and hopefully I can share my screen.
Before that gets started, was Synergy back on? I know she was trying to get on for around this time.
Right, I haven't heard from her yet.
No worries. Sorry,
I
Matt.
emailed her, so yeah, go for it, Matt. And then if
Okay,
Caitlin shows up, we'll put her in next. So yeah, you got 15 minutes to tell us all about your great work.
alrighty. Let's see if this will work. All right, can we all see this hopefully? And I am no director of marketing, so Sam, that presentation was incredible. Hopefully you all can bear with me and the Fusion Bangor voice with our updates. And we do have Shelley Riley here. Hopefully you're still here, unless you just jumped off, the program director of the Bangor Region Chamber of Commerce, who is a champion among the Fusion Bangor team as well. But my name is Matt Dexter, the vice chair of Fusion Bangor, taking on the chair role next year. And the roses and thorns, I'm going to follow that as well too. I think that might be a common theme among many groups, but it certainly Fusion Bangor had some great moments throughout this year, but also some very real challenges. But we kicked off 2021 with a great vision. We held a good strategic planning retreat that we really didn't do in too many years following that. So it was really important for us to do that at the end of 2020, and we kicked off this year with that energy to just try and strengthen what we wanted to do, how our current committee structure worked, and ultimately we maintained the 4 committees that we have to try and make this region grow and strong. So we still went through 2021 with marketing and sports, community and events, and not only steering committee members made up those 4 committees, but we tried to get those outside of the steering committee members engaged as well. But much like KV Connect, diversity was really important to us. We had 13 members on our steering committee this year, and they were pretty diverse. Bankers, lawyers, accountants, nonprofit professionals, people in multiple different industries and multiple different ages too. And I coming from Massachusetts and moving to Maine for school, we also had a lot of diversity with how long people were in the Bangor region as well, which paints a good perspective of what we all saw the community as and what we wanted to strengthen too. So 2021, in our eyes, it was kind of back to our roots. We really wanted to figure out our values and our strengths. And through the strategic plan that we did at the end of 2020, we really embraced how we can try and make Bangor a great place to live, work, and play. And those 3 words we hung on tight to, and we tried to overlap it in all of the activities that we tried to plan and that we successfully did in the last 10 or 11, 12 or so months. And with that, one thing was really birthed from that discussion. And as the title shares, we kind of went with a live, work, play series. So we were still really, and still are today, trying to be aware of COVID-19 and the challenges with putting any event or any activity on in this environment. So early on, we put together a live, work, play series, and it was our first year doing that. We held some different online series and in-person series in the past, but this idea was to really highlight various parts of the Bangor region and acknowledge the changing environment in the area, to try and give people the tools that they might need to improve their career path or find a new place to hike or explore and embrace recreation, or maybe oh my goodness, the real estate market is exploding. How can we help people embrace maybe first-time home buying or renting? And that's what the series was all about. And we had multiple different panelists, over 1,000 different views through Zoom, and quite a lot of engagement from different community leaders. Our first one was in April, talking about living in the region. And like I mentioned, not only kind of the real estate side of living, but also our environment and what are our strengths in the Bangor region and also beyond. In June, we tried our best to overlap things with playing and recreation, embracing the summer weather, and we had great involvement with outdoor centers, the Greater Bangor Convention and Visitors Bureau, a couple incredible people to touch on, trails and hikes and different places, even outside of the Bangor region, to really embrace. And then as students came back to some local universities and the workforce was, we all really were acknowledging that the workforce was changing. And in September, we wanted to help people. So we put on our third work series. And that was really to try and start a conversation around tools people might need to improve their career path. We didn't focus on a specific industry per se, but we tried to get a lot of diversity on that panel to touch on, emotional intelligence in the workplace, for-profit and nonprofit work, maybe not only the downtown Bangor region, but also surrounding industries that are outside of that area. So it was a great community event that the community committee took on. And on the community side of things, and I know Sam touched on all the great involvement as well with KB Connect, and I've heard all the great nonprofit engagement that so many different partners of Realize Maine Network have done, and Fusion is right there with you. We tried our best to try and do larger group events within for all of our steering committee members to go and engage and volunteer, but a lot of people did their own individual volunteering with wearing their Fusion hat, whether it's local organizations or trying to work remotely and help nonprofits in ways that they need. We certainly did that throughout the year as well. Moving to events, this might be between events and our sports. Those might be more of the thorns among the roses, but we really tried to embrace reality and figure out what events we could really do. It was hard to plan things. We worked really hard to figure out comfort level and engagement levels, and whether it's events or sports, but we really came up with this great new idea to regain momentum and energy around Fusion Bangor. And that's what we're looking at now is Fusion Connects. And that, again, leaning back to our core value and our core roots of trying to embrace living, working, and playing in the Bangor region. The theory behind Fusion Connects is instead of larger events, have multiple mini events throughout 2022, and then lead up to larger, a single larger event, if hopefully possible, towards the end of 2022, recognizing all the great work that was done throughout the year. So this is a new approach for us. We've certainly done great events in the past, like the extravaganza and other great fun things, but unfortunately we're not able to successfully plan and execute this year. But we still want to hold on to that. We still want to hold on to those values and recognizing the great work. So that's what Fusion Connects will be. With great partnership with Live Work Maine and the Bangor Chamber, we had one of our first in-person events in 20 months, and it was just on Wednesday, and it was very powerful and a great reminder to what we're all about and our purpose and our mission, and a great recruitment tool. So from the Fusion Bangor steering committee, it was a good reminder and pretty empowering to know that people still want to get together. And that even though we might not have had many great successful in-person events, kind of like what Yellow was saying, even though we might feel like we're facing so much hardship, we still have so much for us right now. And there's still a lot of great energy around here. So we've really embraced partnerships and collaborating among other groups doing events, and Live Work Maine brought their Welcome Home event, and we worked with the chamber on that as well this past Wednesday. So and again, among the other thorns, sports was a and hopefully continues to be a huge part of what Fusion Bangor is. We really used it as a great engagement tool, recruitment tool, and even revenue generating tool. So when, of course, COVID happened, we really had to pull back on all of the great platforms that were already in existence for Fusion to do sports. So the sport committee still was working hard throughout the year, but we ran into some challenges to really get different sporting events off the ground, such as dodgeball, volleyball, or bowling, which had great success in years past. But we're hopeful, though. We did a great survey recently and got a lot of engagement and a lot of positive responses for trying to set up a dodgeball event in the next quarter or so, and reimagine what a 5K event could look like in 2022, which we tried to bring out in 2020 and 2021, but couldn't successfully do that. So we're hopeful. This is a hopeful slide to bring this back. So with all the things going on, we really went back to our roots this year. We wanted to try and redesign how we communicated, brought the Fusion brand, gave people opportunities to engage with us. And I think this past year, resilience and leadership are the two big words that came from Fusion Bangor. We did have to innovate a lot. Sports was a big part of who we are and how we engage the community, and we did have to change and kind of reallocate where our energy was going, and that was challenging. We just opened our steering committee member application yesterday or today, Shelley, I think, and we're really hopeful for getting some more engagement there and more leaders to take ownership of how they want the community to look like. And the wise words of Mr. King, Stephen King, who not only is my neighbor, but one of all of our friends. You can, you should, and if you are brave enough to start, you will. And I think not only Fusion Bangor embraces the bravery, but everyone here and everyone within the network does that. So that's our vision for 2022, really trying to be brave and try new things. So we really, like Sam was talking about, and I'm sure maybe others too, we want to try and collaborate even more, engage different chambers and businesses and universities and in partnerships, make sure that we're not duplicating things as well. And then engagement, promote shared ownership, embrace one-on-one relationship building, and make sure that connections and involvement in Fusion can start with just a simple conversation, and really try and be a little more proactive with that. And maybe most importantly, acknowledging where our Fusion Bangor strengths, and then what other groups are doing things maybe in a better way that we can help and promote as well. And then how can we transform the area? That's one big thing that we're also focusing on, and empowering the Bangor region to grow and celebrate our diversity. And I think most importantly too, provide relevant tools for students, employers, emerging leaders, and Mainers to thrive. It's somewhat like a melting pot here in this area with so many different colleges, universities, and international airport, yet we're still also a little rural. So we kind of get the best of both worlds. And with that, there is a lot of diversity, and we want to make sure we can maybe transform and grow the area, but do it in an inclusive way too. So but only if we're brave enough, as Stephen King so elegantly said. So yeah, among all the roses and thorns, I guess that's it. That's where Fusion is, and we're excited for the new year.
Great, thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks, Julie.
Great to hear what you all have been up to. Any quick questions for Matt? Anyone want to jump in? All right, Caitlin is here, so we're going to switch over to Synergy next. And again, 15 minutes per group. So Caitlin, if you want to take it away, I made you co-host if you have some slides to share.
All right, great, thank you. I'm going to try to share my slideshow, but I've never shared a slideshow, so bear with me. Share. See. All right, can you see just my slideshow part? Okay, wonderful. Thank you for bearing with me. You'd think I'd have learned this by now, in the world we've been living in. Let me just move this out of the way. There we go. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Caitlin Pushard, and I am a member of the Synergy Steering Committee as part of the Kennebec Valley Chamber of Commerce. I am currently the Community Engagement Manager at the United Way of Kennebec Valley, but I have been part of the Synergy Steering Committee for the past 7 years, well before my time here. And I co-chaired, I believe, in 2019. So I've been a part of the group for a long time, but I think this is my first time actually being at one of these showcases. So thank you for having me. So today I just want to talk to you a little bit about what we've been up to over the last year and kind of plans for the future. So just to give you an overview of the presentation, I'm just going to describe some of our experiences from this past year, discuss some of our programming during 2021, review some of the challenges and obstacles that we faced, probably everyone else faced, all the other young professional groups, as well as any kind of networking organization or committee probably faced in 2021. And then talk a little bit about what's next for us and goals for 2022. What's the plan for next year and how we hope to bring it a little bit back to normal for us, and then just wrapping it up. So I think 2021 has been a year to remember for everyone. It's no surprise that this year has continued to bring similar challenges that we faced last year. We were able to pivot a little bit, that famous word that everyone has been using this past year, and pivot and try to adjust our programming accordingly and to try to be as responsive to our Synergy members as possible. So looking at a lot of video conferencing options for some of our events, limiting the number of our in-person events when we were able to do so, depending on, what the situation was given the pandemic. We also worked towards collaborating with other groups in our area, which was not entirely new, but definitely a focus for this year, just to try to expand our reach a little bit. And then really we took this opportunity to kind of highlight some of the heroes in our community as far as organizations that have really supported everyone over the past couple of years during these really trying times. We were still forced to reschedule and or cancel some of our in-person events or adjust to Zoom format. I feel like overall we do feel good about what we're doing and the fact that we're doing our best and trying to pull everything together. So I'm just going to review some of our ups and downs of the past year and some of the programming that we had. So as I mentioned, this past year, collaboration was a big focus for us. We partnered with the United Way of Kennebec Valley's Emerging Leaders Society. This group is a group with a similar demographic of what it says, emerging leaders in the community who are wanting to get involved through the United Way for volunteering purposes, but also really interested in that professional development and networking piece that Synergy offers. So our idea was that by collaborating with this group that we'd be able to expand the impact of both groups' networks and really gain more members and a broader reach in our community by sharing the space a little bit. As I mentioned before too, celebrating local heroes from our communities, especially during and after the pandemic. So we had some CEO spotlights, leadership panels, and a few in-person events that kind of all tied back to that common thread, that common theme. So we were able to host 3 different CEO spotlights this year in collaboration with emerging leaders through the United Way. They were all held via Zoom, and we had brought approximately 20 to 30 people to each of these, and we received great feedback from those who attended. So we had, to kick off the year, Bob Moore, who's Executive Director of the Augusta Food Bank, to speak a little bit about his journey and what brought him to this position and providing advice as far as professional development, networking, and kind of how to reach this kind of leadership position and just kind of lessons he learned along the way, as well as Donna Strickler, who's the Executive Director of Sexual Assault Crisis and Support Center, and Nicole Evans, the CEO of American Red Cross. So Donna and Nicole also talked about their journey and offering guidance to the people who were able to participate in the training, as well as offering plenty of time for questions and feedback. And Nicole actually was able to gain a lot of participation, kind of turning it back around and asking for some feedback from the audience. So all of them went really well and had great feedback. We also hosted 2 different leadership panels. One was focused on mental health and discussing the ways that COVID has affected mental health in adults and children in Kennebec Valley, talking about both short-term and long-term effects from the pandemic and how it's impacted many parts of our lives. So we had 3 different people participate in that mental health panel. We had Mike Mitchell, who's the CEO of Crisis and Counseling Centers, Dr. Janine Taylor, who is the Medical Director for Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services at Kennebec Behavioral Health, Crystal Thiring, who is a Youth Mental Health Program Director from NAMI. So we had a series of questions that we went through and asked the different panel members, as well as opened it up to the audience to be able to ask. And that seemed to go really well. Oops. We also had a main housing crisis panel to discuss the housing crisis in Kennebec Valley. They looked at the impact that the pandemic has had, again, on housing, as well as supply and demand, leading to homelessness in our area. As part of that panel, we had 4 different people. Michelle Prince, who's the Chief Operating Officer of KV CAP, Amanda Olson, the Executive Director of Augusta Housing, Sarah Miller, the Administrative Director for Bridging the Gap, which provides clothing bank, basic essentials pantry, and the warming center here in Augusta. And Michael Shaughnessy, who's the Homeless Initiative Program Manager for Maine Housing. And again, that was set up in a similar format via Zoom, just asking questions of the panels and also allowing for feedback and questions from the audience. The panels brought a little bit higher attendance with 30 to 40 approximately people to each of those. And then finally, we were able to have a few different in-person events and opportunities for networking, and again, giving back a little bit to the community. And again, those organizations that really helped out everyone during the pandemic. So we had a trivia night that brought 45 people and raised $110 that was donated to the Teen Center here in Augusta. There was also a Red Cross blood drive, which brought 53 people out as part of that event. And then we have a holiday trivia night coming up in a few weeks, and we'll be raising money for the Bread of Life. So, like many others, I'm sure, we experienced some challenges over this past year. Our biggest challenge seemed to revolve around attendance. We lost a good portion of our steering committee members over the last couple of years, just given the nature of the pandemic, switching jobs, and just inability to kind of get together and connect, I think. So it resulted in planning getting lost in some of that clutter. We did have somewhat meager participation of our members and the community due to the overwhelming needs of COVID and just everything that it brought to everyone's lives. So we overcame some of the challenges through our partnership with emerging leaders and had seen an increase in participation in our events, as did they. And we were able to fit in a couple in-person events, which we were pleased and happy that we were able to do that. So we have a new plan of attack for rebuilding and kind of recommitting and getting people more involved, both for virtual and in-person events and activities. So we want to start by rebuilding our steering committee, electing a steering committee chair. Currently, we don't have one. Recruiting additional steering committee members and kind of rounding out that level of leadership and reestablishing, reorganizing responsibilities among the steering committee so that it's very focused on our different programming events and really pushing that forward and having that commitment of the steering committee. We already have a few new members that are interested, and we're really hoping to get some new energy with these new members. We'd also like to increase our network. So just outreach to local universities to pull in graduating seniors, providing marketing materials to our members of the Chamber of Commerce for onboarding during the hiring process. And then just visiting members to talk about the group and what we do and just putting more of an emphasis and a focus on that. And then finally, hopefully bringing back in-person events. So the CEO spotlights, leadership panels, networking events, and then also in this past year, I neglected to mention that we really weren't able to continue with some of our sporting leagues and events. So we're really hoping to reintroduce our bowling tournament and our dodgeball tournament, as those seem to bring another set of people who are interested in engaging in the group in a different way. And we have some new members who are really excited and behind those things for the steering committee. So we're hoping it will kind of take on a life of its own once they join. So kind of looking back in 2021, we're proud of our work and the accomplishments that we had, given the challenges that we were facing. And we're excited to start the new year on a new foot and hopefully get some more engagement. We really appreciate the support from the Maine Development Foundation and hope to just continue doing good work in the future. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, thanks, Caitlin, for your resilience and also your commitment to working through the challenges that that you all have faced in the Augusta area. And I'm excited to see what you do in the coming year.
Great.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, next up is Uplift LA. So we've got Matthew Shaw. And Matt, if you want to take it away.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Okay, I just made you co-host again because I know you've fallen off a couple times, so you should be good for now. And I've got you on. We've got 32:45.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie. And I hope I don't fall off again. People are rearranging offices here where I work, and it's been kicking me from the internet. So we're gonna go with this. But I am our chair for Uplift LA, and Uplift LA is part of our Lewiston Auburn Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce. Excited to share some things that we as a group did this year. But like most of you, we've had some of the same feelings and struggles that you guys have had. So, So we classify this year as a year of growth and transition. I was successfully able to bring on a chair-elect, Allison Daniels from Central Maine Community College. Some of you have met her as she's been attending some Realize Maine Network meetings. She's a go-getter and a breath of fresh air, and she will be assuming role as chair for Uplift LA starting on January 1st. And with our meeting on this coming Monday, she will also have a chair-elect as well, which is awesome news and very exciting for us as we continue to build and adapt. 2020 was our first real year as being a standing committee of our local Chamber of Commerce. So this year continued to bring adaptation and working together with the Chamber and their staff on facilitating some projects and working towards some things. We were able to really build a small but core group of steering committee members that were, for the most part, consistent, present and active. We held all of our steering committees virtually, and I foresee us continually holding them that way going forward. With our target demographic in our group, it just makes a lot of sense and has worked out really well. So with that being said, we hosted some in-person events that I'll get to, tried to maintain a budget. And then a lot of you are familiar with our premier event of the year, 40 Under 40. We rebranded it and reimagined it and set it up for strategic stabilization as well as longevity, and rebranded it as Finest Under 40. So some of the events that we held this year is we held 5 Fun After 5 events, and those Fun After 5 events were trivia nights, which ended up really having and building its own following. 4 of them have happened so far, and we kind of partner with a local brewery. In the beginning, it was really important that we had outdoor space as we were getting people's comfort levels up. But it was exciting to be able to have those. And then we held 2 newcomers nights in which a newcomers night for us is pretty much like an after hours of people coming together and networking, and just encouraging people to foster growth and build relationships amongst our community. And then 2 weeks ago today, we held our Finest Under 40 event, in which we did it fully virtual again. And we're having a debriefing session coming up on Monday with our steering committee about what did we do well, what didn't we do well, especially with rebranding it. So our last Fun After 5 event is next Tuesday, and we're partnering with Live and Work in Maine and the Third Place. So we know it's going to be a great event. We're really looking forward to it, and it's been getting a lot of popular buzz around our community. So we're definitely looking forward to it. For our our Finest Under 40 event, with it being virtual, we tried to maintain as many sponsorships as we possibly could, as well as giving back to our restaurants and beverage shops that are in our area. So Bangor Savings Bank has always been very generous to us, and we really appreciate them and all that they do for young professionals in our state and beyond. They came in as our primary sponsor. We used our grant funds from the Realize Maine Network and MDF, and partnered with the organizations here on our screen. So what does that kind of entail about like partnering with a restaurant and beverage shop? So for us, what that really means is, because this was a virtual event, we put together prize packs, and our prize packs that were geared for more than 2 people had a voucher within that prize pack, one for a restaurant and one for a beverage shop. And as the voucher holder, you would go to one of our partner restaurants or beverage shops that we have, do your order, provide them the voucher, and then that restaurant would discount your order by your voucher amount. So what would generally transpire and happen is that if your voucher was for $50 for food, your average order was in the market of $75 to $100. So we were getting people to pay 50% to 100% more than what they were getting from their voucher, which in turn, helps drive business to some of our members that are part of our chamber, as well as the partnership with our local restaurants and beverage shops builds camaraderie and knowledge of what Uplift LA continues to be and what we desire to be for a community partner. So in 2021, we secured about $8,000 in actual cash sponsorship, $2,500 in in-kind sponsorship, drove about $2,000 back in dollars to a restaurant and food and beverage shop. And then the annual program itself, this was its 5th year. We've collected 550 nominations of community members in our LA Metro region, tabulated 8,000 votes for those individuals, and have recognized 139 unique individuals. So it's been a great year. You can see the post on the bottom right side. That was done right after our event. And this year we recognized our youngest individual of the program, and she is in middle school, and she is 12 or 13 years old. So it's one of our priding moments, because we used to have individuals that were greater than 24 years old, but younger than 40. And we were really having a hard time hitting that high school and younger demographic, because some kids are doing some amazing things in our community. And she actually started Caden's Kitchen, which started as a food pantry out of her own home. And then it grew into having its own kind of like retail space, as well as having 2 food pantry kitchens. So she's amazing, as well as all the other individuals that we recognize. But it was a fun night that we partnered with many people on, and broadcasted it through YouTube, through a live event. And we're looking now of how can we truly utilize Uplift LA and its Finest Under 40 program as a retention tool and recruitment tool. Thinking of it more or less towards the nature of, could this be like alumni of like a college or a school, where we build a channel for these alumni that are being honored to engage with each other easily and effectively as the years progress, and continue to add to that as we go forward. So there's some more work that we're going into it, but it was definitely a year that we put some efforts into it to really position it for future growth and development. Our Facebook channels continue to be pretty active. When we look across, whether it be our chamber or other businesses in our area, we try to, anytime we have an event, post something from it. So on the first photo to the left is one of our Fun After 5 trivia nights, which we held at a local restaurant. And the winning team, which is the larger picture there, is kind of cool. It was a lady that is actually mentoring all of those youth in the picture. They came to the restaurant and the server said, "Hey, do you want to participate in trivia?" I had no idea what it was about, but joined in the fun. We had a tie at the very end where we did a sing-off competition, and her and her group of girls won as the champions for that night. The next is one of our newcomers nights, where we hosted it at a local apple orchard and their tasting room that they had. And lastly, on the right-hand side is one of like our posts that we recognize for when we put out there for our finest under 40 and our awards going live. So we average anywhere between like the 700 and sometimes 2,000, 2,500 people being reached on our posts. So it's a good feel-good thing. And people commonly tag themselves in our posts, which being in marketing, and I'm sure Mary can kind of attest to that, sometimes it's hard to get that interactions with individuals, but Awfulness LA continues to do a really good job of getting people to do that. So one of our last events of the year is the city of Auburn here in our region reached out to us and said, "Hey, can we partner with you for the downtown New Year's Eve event?" And we said, "Of course, why not? We'll partner with you." So we are co-hosting New Year's Auburn, which there'll be fireworks. We'll be shutting down a downtown street. There'll be food trucks and music by Motor Booty Affair and Hello Newman. And then we also partnered with our local hotel here for a discounted rate, and in kind and collaboration, there's about a $30,000 buy-in for media with our local WGME CBS Fox news station. So we're kind of excited about that. We've never done a partnership with one of the local cities to an event on that caliber. So we'll see how it turns out, and we're looking forward to it. Lastly, for what we're looking to do in 2022, it's really going to be a year about recruitment for us. We have done a fairly decent job of keeping a core group of steering members, but we want to be able to engage and interact with more individuals in hopes that we can build upon that and get people to more recognize and come to our events and make connections across our communities. We will have our Finest Under 40 again event. We don't know if it will be exactly the same or if we'll change it up. That's all about being adapting and being in our demographic. And really working towards having integrated social and networking events through a newcomers night, our Fun After 5 trivia night, speed networking. We've been trying for a few years to have a kickball tournament. We've planned it, postponed it, planned it, postponed it. And right now it is currently planned for spring of 2022. So we hope to be able to actually have that and kick that off. And then we're going to be looking to regularly utilize and more utilize LinkedIn and our Facebook following, and partnering with our local chamber on their Taste the Harvest event, which brought together over 13 different restaurants, many 8 harvesting and vegetable and crop farmers in our area, and gave back a lot of food to the community. And they do their annual holiday Stuff the Bus that involves 12 to 18 different nonprofits in our areas for families that need support during the holidays. So we're looking forward to that. And with that being said, that is all that I have. And I know it's a lot, probably said it kind of quickly, but we're really looking forward to having another year that is great and successful in 2022, and the new leadership that is coming on board.
Thanks, Matt. And you got some kudos in the chat as well. I hope you have a chance to look at those. But lots of good stuff going on in the LA area. Thanks for that presentation. And any questions for Matt?
Well, thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, Matt. All right, next and last, we go to Momentum Heuristic. So Brandon, if you're ready, you can take it away.
Thank you all. Hopefully at this point you're seeing the slideshow. I do, and I'm going to see if we're going to be able to do it. So in the past I was able to share sound. Yeah, here we go. We're going to attempt to share sound on this one as well. So we got a video halfway through. If that doesn't show sound, please let me know. So I'm Brandon McDonald with Momentum Heuristic. I'm the vice chair. Here's 8 of our members. We actually have a couple others. This is actually from the Heuristic Achievers Award ceremony that we held last night. So I'm glad we were able to get some pictures together for that. I'll go into that in a little bit. So this is just a year in review of some of the highlights that we looked at. We've focused a lot in the past on kind of some of the hardest challenges that we had, and we're trying to look a little bit past that and show a little bit more about the resilience that we've had going forward. So some of the highlights, it's resiliency through a pandemic. We're going to focus on 3 major events. One was the Momentum Heuristic and Heuristic Partnership Dinner. And that's really a key event because of the partnerships involved with the AP. We do have our MDF video that I wanted to highlight to really show off some of the AP involvement that we've had over the past couple of months, along with last night's Heuristic Achievers Award ceremony. So I'm going to begin with the AP, the Heuristic Partnership. So AP offers a unique partnership opportunity. It's the ability to network with CEOs, and we have them in our backyard. We're hosted, and our fiduciary sponsor kind of works through NMDC, and NMDC, they have a alternative arm that works with the Heuristic Partnership. And the Heuristic Partnership is kind of like a chamber of commerce, but just for CEOs, large-scale organizations that all get together to try and solve some of the issues going on in Aroostook County. And one of the major issues that they've outlined was young leadership. So they love working with us. We love working with them. It gives this networking potential to our members to work with these community leaders, whether they're in healthcare, finance, the nonprofit world, to bounce ideas off of. They love hearing the new ideas that our members have to offer, and we love kind of learning from the leadership that they have. In fact, pictured on the top left, that's Greg LaFrancois. He's the CEO of the Northern Light AR Gould Hospital, and because of events like this, he was able to actually be our keynote speaker at last night's Heuristic Achiever Award ceremony. It's because of events like this that he's able to see what we're able to do and what we offer the community. So I really felt like events like the Heuristic Partnership Dinner were very integral to us continuing to operate and growing, because at the end of the day, our hope is that the Heuristic Partnership eventually will see, and they have, I don't want to say eventually, they'll see the value that we are able to bring to young leaders, and we'll kind of act as almost a feeder system. The hope is that they'll be able to help us with recruitment and getting members together so that we can continue to develop Aroostook County, because we do have a leadership crisis that I'll talk about a little bit going forward. So we are going to go into our event here. Hopefully you're hearing that on the other side. I'll be quiet.
When you look at a rural area, you sit down and think there's not a whole lot up there, but there really is.
There is great opportunity across virtually every field, whether you're in medical, whether you're in legal, whether you're in educational fields, whether you're in industry, business fields.
The 2 primary industries, forestry and farming, agriculture. We're blessed to have very fertile soils, abundant rainfall.
You will not meet more creative entrepreneurs than you will up here. People just with these killer ideas, and they make them work, and they find a way to make it a living, a business.
I mean, you have to really think outside the box. You have to be willing to try different things.
There are opportunities for small businesses to work together and create a uniquely county-based market economy.
So Aroostook County is a great place to be. It's a great place to recreate.
Not only that, a very welcoming community wanting business here and doing whatever possible to get you to relocate your business here. The cost to lease something up here or even buy commercially is way less expensive.
We have a lot of commercial spaces, and of course the cost per square foot is going to be less in this area than somewhere else. So if you have a dream and you need a space, this might be a good place to give it a try.
There are so many job opportunities in the county and a lot of self-employment opportunities too. I think it's very easy to get the job you want or to create the job that you want.
Opportunities for anybody today exist in Aroostook County. There's probably a job function for every person that has a need.
We do have a lot of great jobs here with competitive salaries.
The culture of the county is strong, hardworking folks, and if you've got that, you can learn the rest. If you are interested in starting a business, these are the employees that you want to have.
People are so kind when it comes to residents of Aroostook County. It's really been a pleasure being up here, and I think there's a lot of untapped potential with this area. This has been a safe haven for a lot of people. We've seen a lot of new people coming into the area, and they love it. They love what it has to offer.
No matter how strong you are as an entrepreneur, how strong your spirit is to succeed, it always helps to know that there's somebody there that has your back or that will support you or bounce ideas off of. And Momentum Aroostook is absolutely that place.
Momentum, I think, is really critical for Aroostook County relative to the fact that it creates an important cohesion and network amongst our young professionals.
We just try to help them and get them comfortable and exposing them to the professional network up here that we have.
Those types of networks are really important for people, and it's something that we're trying really hard in Aroostook County to expound on.
We offer professional networking events. Those are probably our most regular events. We offer some recreational activities together, some professional development events. We meet monthly and really just highlight different events going on within the different regions and brainstorm ideas amongst one another, how to get folks engaged.
We're a very friendly organization. We'll sit down and we'll chat with anybody, and we'll talk about the best things to do in Aroostook County and some of the things that if you may have questions if you've lived out of state.
We are a welcoming group. That's what we're here for, is to be a support group in many ways.
Momentum Aroostook focuses on leadership development, focuses on building a kind of feeling of inclusivity to make sure that people feel like they've found their place here in Aroostook County.
They are just so helpful in welcoming you to the area. You can become involved. You can learn so many different things, whether it's recreation or where to eat or the best employers in the area. So I would highly recommend, if you're looking into an area such as the county, to join a group like Momentum Aroostook. They have so much knowledge to share. It's a very comfortable group. They're great friends, and the camaraderie is wonderful.
Welcome to the county.
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 So at first it feels like this really feels like it's just Momentum Aroostook. But really, one of the things that I've noticed with this is this could really be taken and adapted to any kind of challenges, any kind of focus that you wanted to have in your county. And I really wanted to share this one, not so much to highlight Aroostook County, I love Aroostook County, but to highlight the importance of the partnership that we have with AP and the ability to bring together these CEOs, these network leaders, to promote Aroostook County in general. And it was kind of my hope that this would serve as a little bit of inspiration going forward. I know that there's been a lot of videos done through the rest of our partners, and I hope that in future years, as we continue, and if we continue with this kind of program, that partnerships like AP, and I don't know what exists at the Southern Maine level, but I just love the fact that AP exists up north, because it's just the ability for us young professionals to be able to have people like Matt McCatton in the same room. It's just it's absolutely incredible for our organization, and it really helps with our retention efforts and being able to get new members on board. I think we've had some challenges through the past couple of years, and when young leaders see this and they see their superiors, their mentors involved with our projects, it speaks volumes. So last night we had the Aroostook Achievers Award ceremony. We recognized 15. We had 125 attendees. We were a little cautious of the situation, but we've all agreed. We actually had Greg LaFrancois, who was the CEO of the local hospital, who really gave us the green light on this one. I don't want to say he personally supported it, but the fact that he was there, we put on as safe of an event as we could. It really spoke volumes about the commitment that Aroostook County had to this event. We had 9 financial sponsors, and 8 of those sponsors were Aroostook Partnership members, which really further cemented why all of our group has really pushed that partnership. What I'd say is a great success, and I was so proud of the partners that got together to make this happen. This actually happened in Ignite Presque Isle. That's Aroostook County's newest co-working space, so it's just yet another great partner of kind of meeting both our goals and also the governor's goals of trying to build back our economy. So we wanted to show some value to our sponsors. I think it was only $40 on our post, and this really kind of goes towards what Mary was talking about earlier on the value that you can show your sponsors. With only $40, we were able to reach almost 22,000 with 4,600 engagements, which was just absolutely incredible. We had a gentleman on our video, actually. His name's Ryan Pelletier, and he works with one of the local Facebook pages, Positively Aroostook. And having kind of I guess buy-in from someone like him in the community was huge for us being able to get that scope, that message out as far as we could. Because beyond that $40 we spent on marketing, we were able to network with those who ran these social media pages like Positively Aroostook, with just a huge membership scope that allowed us to get in front of as many in Aroostook and as we could. So we were so happy to show that value to our sponsors. What's going to be happening next? So like many of the others in the Realize Maine Network, we're going to be doing a welcome home event. It's going to be at Ignite Presque Isle. That's going to be coming up early December. We're very excited to get that event off the ground. We're growing our steering committee. We're hoping to continue the growth that we've had, and again, through both the MDF video and some of the events that we've had, we're hoping to have the opportunity to grow. We haven't shrunk, which makes me very happy. In the past year, I was a little bit concerned of losing membership, and I'm so proud of the members that we've had. We have not had anyone drop off the committee. We have as much investment as we've had in the past, and I'm very excited about that. And we want to solidify that partnership with the Aroostook partnership going forward. I think we kind of bridge together on a vision, and we want to make sure that we can make that vision possible. We're attempting to address Aroostook County's leadership crisis. So anecdotally, I talked to a Rotarian locally, and they have the concern that they serve on 5 different community action committees, community action boards. We're rotating the same very small group of people throughout our leadership committees here in Aroostook County, and that's a big concern for us going forward. The ability to succession plan for these committees, it's just not there. So we want to make sure that Momentum Aroostook, as individuals begin to take their careers off, maybe they graduate from Momentum Aroostook, and we hope that they'll join with other boards, or even while they're with Momentum Aroostook. We'd love to see Rotarians and individuals working with the United Way, so that we can grow the community and collaborative efforts that we've had up here in Aroostook County. It's really a goal to try and bring more leaders to the region so that we can grow upon the great individuals who are already here. And with that, I thank you for your time. I've got a QR code. I would love if you would give us a follow on social media. we're rebuilding our social media page from past years, and I really thank MDF for the opportunity for us to continue operating with the funding we received from them, along with the other fiscal sponsors that we've had this year. I don't think we would have had these events that we've been looking at, nor would we be able to continue with the professional networking. So thank you, Julie, and thank you, MDF.
Great, thanks so much, Brandon. That was a fun presentation. Does anybody have any questions for Brandon? Looks like you've recruited a few people to visit the area based on the chat. All right, if no questions, then I'm happy to say that we're wrapping up a little bit early.
Before we go, Julie, I did want to take this moment to thank you. Julie is such a hard worker, and she supports all of our groups so much and does so much for each and every one of us. And that really, in turn, helps hundreds, thousands of millennials and young professionals across the state of Maine. So what you do, Julie, is amazing. And thank you for doing it for us. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Molly. That's really sweet. And I want to take this chance to thank Molly for her time serving as the steering committee chair over the past year. We've only got one meeting left with her, but she took that on, knowing that she's going to be welcoming a baby into this world during that time. And I'm just amazed at her energy and that she was able to keep serving as chair through that. It's probably why you're rocking, right? You're holding your baby. So thank you. And thank you all for being with us today. It was just great to see these examples of leadership across the state, and to just feel the energy that you all have for the work that you're doing, and to see the resilience and flexibility that you've shown over the past couple of years. It's really incredible. So I hope you learned a lot. I certainly did. And I'll just say that I'm looking forward to seeing what you all accomplish in the next year, and put in a plug to, if you haven't already, give me your MOUs for the coming year. All right, I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Thank you, Julie. You too.
Thank you.